Hello guys, welcome to the channel.
आ गए मेरी मौत का तमाशा देखने।
And today what we're going to do is we are going to explore the MAD 1 and MAD 2 projects. Okay, so MAD 1, MAD 2 full form is Modern Application Development. Okay, so Modern Application Development projects which are inside the Programming Diploma. Okay, and what we are going to do is we are going to get a high level overview about both the projects, understand the difference between the projects, what happens exactly, and what are the things that you will need before starting the project, and what are the things that you should learn to make your project easily and efficiently. Okay, so we are going to understand both one by one. So let's start.
चलो भाई देखो अब मैं क्या करता हूँ।
Okay, so first is the Madman project. Okay, so Madman project is the most basic project in our development. You can say, okay, because you're going to use Flask, okay, which is a framework to build a web application, okay, using Python, of course. And what you're going to do is you're going to build a backend server. Okay, where you're going to build a server, you're going to build a application which has this backend of using Flask. You will make this backend, and this server will have predefined tasks. Okay, so let's say I will say that when user comes with a login request, then first give him the login page. Okay, if he's sending the data, then you will check the password and then redirect to the dashboard. So basically, let's say user is sending a get request. Okay, so get request is the request when you are trying to ask for a resource. Okay, so when user tries to log in, sends a GET request, then server will respond with a login.html page. Okay, and is a user. Okay, and then user will fill this login.html. So login.html will contain a login form basically. Okay, so user will send the data. Okay, so you send the data using the post request. Okay, then server has that task also defined that if there is a get request, then send this. Okay, if there is a post request, then check the password if it is correct, and login means that you enter username and password, right? So you basically what you will do is that you will define everything here in the server. Okay, so what you will make exactly is that you're going to make a route. Okay, route, let's say path. Okay, so you will learn more about it. Okay, so server has these predefined routes. Okay, that if user will come to slash login. Okay, and then if there is a get request, means user is asking for some resource, then I will send the login.html. Okay, I will say that user is coming for the first time asking for the resource. So what we are going to do is we are going to send the login.html that will contain the login form. Okay, so login form, right? Then if the request is post, let's say, okay, so you send the login form and user is sending the data. User is filling the form, posting the data. Okay, so data is coming here. Then the task will be check the username and password. Okay, check the username and password, and then if the password is correct, okay, if the password is correct, then go to the dashboard. Okay, okay, so that will be basically another HTML page, dashboard.html. Okay, dashboard.html, right? And if not, then again go to login, right? Again go to login and tell user that the password is incorrect. Okay, so this is a simple login route that you will make first. So you will define many routes like this. Okay, so login route is there. Then you will define a route like create. Okay, so create something. Okay, so create song. Okay, create song or create album or something like that. Okay, so that route, what that, so routes are basically the tasks that when user comes into this path, you will do this. Okay, so what this is going to do, okay, so if the get request is there, that means user is asking for some resource. User wants to create the song and album and asking for the HTML page. Okay, so you will give the create.html page. Okay, not you will give, but yeah, exactly, server will give, and server will give this HTML page, and you will define this HTML pages and everything. Okay, then if post request is there, means user is sending the data. Okay, that means that I'm gonna create album or song or whatever the user wants to create. So there are predefined routes like this, and based on the method, it will act. Okay, so server needs to be defined with this, and user will visit these routes. Okay, user will visit these routes. User will go to slash login. User will go to slash create or anything like that. Okay, so just the server and the user communicating, and server sending HTML pages every time something happens as a response. Okay, so server renders HTML pages. Okay, HTML pages. Okay, now what we're going to understand is the architecture that it is going to have. Okay, so it is a model view controller type architecture. Okay, so model is the database. Okay, model is the database that we are going to use to store the user information, to store another information for the application. Okay, then you're going to have view user interface. Okay, so this is basically the what the user will see. Okay, what the user will see, and the controller handles the business logic. Okay, so controller is the main mind behind everything. Okay, view is what the user will see, and the model stores and modifies and everything as per the instructions. Okay, so it will store the data and it will have everything. So model, view, and controller. Okay, so basically in our case, okay, so the controller, for the controller part, okay, we're going to use Flask. Okay, basically routes we are going to create, right? We're going to create routes. Okay, for the view you need to have understanding of HTML, CSS. Okay, bootstrap if you want to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so you can show the user interface properly. And for the model we are going to use SQLite database. Okay, so SQL database you're going to use. Okay, so the main thing that you need to understand now is these are the three things that is really necessary for you to understand. Okay, then what are the things that makes your application more good? Okay, so that is Jinja. Okay, Jinja helps us creating dynamic templates. Okay, dynamic templates. Then the control is in Python language, right? So it is in Python language, and so like database only understands the SQL, right? So how do you communicate between, like, how the backend will communicate with the model, that this is the thing that you will need to add, this is the thing that you need to remove, this is the thing that you need to understand. So basically what is going to happen is we are going to use a library. Okay, so that is SQL Alchemy. Okay, so you're going to use SQLAlchemy, and this is going to help us communicate with the database in a Pythonic way. Okay, okay, so you will basically you can modify the database while writing the Python code. Okay, so you don't need to write raw SQL. Okay, so Flask, SQLAlchemy, Jinja, okay, HTML, CSS, and SQLite database. A little understanding of DBMS will enough to make your project good, and you'll be able to get a good grade in management project. Okay, so it's all about user asking for something and server responding with HTML page. Okay, so server always responds with HTML page by doing some operation and everything. So this is a simple web application which you're going to create. Okay, so you need to just learn Flask, SQLAlchemy, HTML, CSS, Jinja, Bootstrap if you want, and then having an understanding of DBMS a little bit will really help. Okay, so this was all about Mat1 project. Now let's understand Mat2 project. Okay, so Mat2 is it is level 2. Okay, so that was the first step. Mat1 was the first step, and for the Mat2 project, okay, it is really important, and it is really good. Okay, and it is the industry standard. Not the industry level project that you are going to make. Okay, so the problem statement and everything that you have, okay, maybe the requirement is really different, but the architecture wise, you need to understand this properly because it's really important. Okay, so now let's understand the Mat2 project. So what were the problems in Mat1 project? Okay, so Mat1 project, one problem was the scalability. Okay, so like if too many users are there, then server will need to render the HTML templates. Okay, render the HTML templates, right? Render the HTML templates for each user and send it. Okay, so rendering will take the load. Okay, then one more problem is it is a static application. Okay, so static means that whatever you will get. Okay, so suppose you are getting an HTML page, so that is a static page. Okay, changing, if you will change some things, then it needs to refresh Okay, it needs to refresh, ask the data again from the server, and then get the HTML page, and then you can see the updated one. Mad1 is a static. It gives static HTML pages. Okay, so it gives static HTML pages, so you will not see any changes dynamically. Okay, it needs to every time refresh, get the data, and get the new HTML page, and then you will be able to see. Okay, so every time you make some changes, it needs to send the request to the data, refresh everything, and then come back. So it is a static, not dynamic. Okay, so Mat2 project helps us doing both the things efficiently. Okay, so it will reduce the load on the server also, and it will be dynamic. Okay, so in Mat2 project what happens is that you have a front end server. Okay, front end server, you have a front end server using, you will use node.js. Okay, and you will use node.js, and the framework for the front end you're going to use is vue. Okay, so using these two you're going to make a front end server. Okay, and there will be a backend server. Okay, so backend server, now the backend's work is not to return the HTML templates. Okay, so all the HTML and all the front end will be saved here. Okay, so including HTML, CSS, and everything. Okay, so everything will be here. Okay, and now the backend's work is only to get a request and send the data as per the request. Okay, so server now will not need that it will not need to render anything or anything like that happening. Okay, it will just send the JSON data to the front end. Okay, based on the request. Okay, so routes will be same. Okay, so you're going to use REST API. Okay, so basically you're going to define paths same as Mad1. Okay, but this will not return HTML page, this will return JSON data. Okay, and front end server is going to send a request to the backend server. Okay, get post or any request. Okay, and then that front end server is going to get the response in JSON. Okay, and then using that JSON response, server will show you the page. Okay, so I know it maybe will sound complicated. Okay, but you just need to understand that now the necessary data, okay, necessary data is given by the backend. Okay, now front end will use this JSON data. Okay, front end will use this JSON data, and using this Vue.js framework, it is a JavaScript framework, we are going to show the user the interface. Okay, and based on the changes that the user will make, we are going to send a request again to the server, get the data, and modify the page as it is. Okay, so it is really efficient, and right now the frameworks which are popular is React. Okay, so React people use. Okay, React, Next.js. Okay, and then in the backend people use Django. Okay, Django, Fast API, right? So people use the combination of these two, but the main structure is same, that backend is going to treat the request. Okay, basic structure. Okay, backend is going to treat a request. Okay, and JSON data will be sent. Okay, and then server will show the interface based on the data. Okay, this is understood that there is a front end server, there is a backend server. Okay, and JSON data is being sent. Okay, and request will be sent. Okay, and here I'm going to use Node.js. Here I'm going to use Vue.js. Okay, okay, so Node.js and Vue.js. Okay, and then in backend you are going to use Flask RESTful. Okay, you will learn this in Mad1 week 6. Okay, and then you're going to learn more. Okay, and then backend is Flask RESTful. Okay, but there are more tasks that you're going to do. Okay, so it is not just about this. Okay, it is not just about this. You will have to do some like backend things. Okay, so some backend things that you need to do. Okay, so let's understand that now. Okay, so what is going to happen is that you will require to send send emails. Okay, send email. I'm going to send an email to 100 users, and backend will get the request. Okay, but backend itself can't do this. Okay, because it will not be able to treat other requests. If just the server, if server will try to send the emails to every user, then server will not be able to treat the requests of the user, and it will be busy. Okay, so what the server is going to do is Okay, what the backend server is going to do is, okay, it is going to give this task to Celery. Okay, it is going to this going to give this task to Celery. Okay, so Celery is a really useful. Okay, so it has some workers. Okay, so you will have the Celery server running in the backend. Okay, then when backend gets some tasks like this, it will be pushed to the Celery, and Celery will do those tasks. Celery will do these backend jobs that is going to be done, and backend will not be busy. Okay, so backend will be able to like, so suppose some users are requesting, then backend will be able to respond. Okay, so Celery will do the works. Okay, so workers will be there. Okay, so it's kind of that thing that backend will push the task to the Celery, and Celery will divide it between the workers, and they will send the mails. Okay, so you have a separate terminal running, and it is really a good thing. Okay, so Celery will do the mail. Okay, so backend job will be done by Celery, but someone needs to act as a message broker. Okay, so here there will be a broker. Okay, so that is a Redis. Okay, so it is in memory database. Okay, in memory database, and it acts as a broker. Okay, message broker. Okay, so what is going to happen is backend is going to pass this message via Redis. Okay, so Redis will act as a message broker between backend and the Celery. Okay, so what will happen, user will send the request to mail the users. Okay, admin will send the request to mail the users. Then it will be passed via Redis to Celery. Celery will do the backend jobs. Okay. The second thing that you're going to do is caching. Okay. So sometimes you want to reduce the load on the server. Okay. So backend server. So sometimes you cache a response for some for some particular time. Okay. So you just cache a response. Okay, and it will be stored in the Redis. Okay, in Redis. Okay. So as I said, it is in memory database. Okay, it is fast. Okay, it is really fast, and that's why we use it for caching. Okay, so it will cache the response, and then when user will so we define some particular times. Okay, like for cache for 15 seconds, cache for 20 seconds. Okay, and the response will be same. Okay, because it will be cached, and no matter, like, what are the changes in the database and anything, for the 15 seconds the response will be same. Okay, so that is done by Redis. Okay, then third thing is scheduled mail. Okay, so third thing is scheduled mailing. Okay, so scheduled mailing is, you will define a particular time. I want to do it monthly, I want to do it weekly, a report I want to send. Okay, okay, so I want to send a monthly report or weekly report. Okay, so that is going to happen with Celery Beat. That is going to happen with Celery Beat. Okay, so Celery Beat will send scheduled mails, as I said. Okay, so scheduled mails are done by Celery Beat. Okay, so you will need to understand what it is. Okay, so basically what we did was that you need to understand first for the front end server. Okay, so let's just have a comparison. Okay, so let's say mad1. Okay, so in mad1 one server runs. Okay, one backend server runs. It does everything. Okay, it does everything. Okay, renders HTML pages and does everything. Okay, now let's come to mad2. Okay, so what does this mad2 is going to do? Okay, so there is front end server running. Okay, front end server separately running using Node.js. Okay, and using Vue. Okay, so Vue is Vue will help us create the user interface. Okay, then the backend server using Flask RESTful. Okay, so it is going to just give us JSON data. It is going to modify the JSON data, and they're going to communicate. Then there are some scheduled tasks. Okay, so there is one Celery's in the running in the terminal. Okay, so Celery will also run in the terminal. So this is one, two. This third will be running in the terminal. That is for mailing or some backend jobs. Okay, backend jobs. Okay, so backend jobs, like, server needs to be free. Okay, server shouldn't be busy, backend server, because server needs to treat other requests from other users or like that. Okay, so server will push the backend jobs, anything. Okay, that can be anything, some long process that is going to take a lot of time. Okay, and backend will be stopped. Okay, backend will be stopped till it completes that task. Okay, then Celery beat will be also running. Okay, celery beat will be also running. Okay, it will be for scheduled meals. Okay, it will be for scheduled meals. And one, so one, two, three, four. Okay, then one Redis server will also be running. Okay, Redis will do act as a message broker, and this is going to help us doing the caching also. Five servers and the sixth server. Okay, that will be Mailhog server. If you use Mailhog, okay, so it is for mailing. Okay, you need to use some SMTP. Okay, so you will learn more about that. So if needed. Okay, so here you are. Okay, so you have Mad 2. Main difference is Mad 1 has one terminal and it will have five or six terminals running.
समझ रहे हो समझ रहे हो आप समझ रहे हो ना
Okay, then you will need to learn, half of the things than Mat 2. Okay, you need to learn Celery, you need to learn Redis, how to operate that, you need to learn Node.js, Vue.js, okay, Flask, RESTful. Okay, but let me tell you one thing. Okay, so as I said that right now React.js and everything is like React.js, Django here. Okay, people use Monstack. Okay, so the important part to understand is that once you will complete MAD and MAD2 project, it will give you the foundation to learn everything. Okay, so if you know Vue, okay, if you know Vue.js, okay, then you'll be easily able to learn React. Okay, then if you know the basic Flask, okay, get request, post request, HTTP methods, okay, then you'll be able to learn the Express really easily. Okay, okay, then you if you know Flask, okay, if you know Flask and if you know other things, okay, so if you know just Flask, you'll be able to learn the fast API and also really easily. Okay, so this just builds the foundation. Okay, it's not about like what are they teaching, this is not industry standard, it isn't like that. Okay, you need to understand one thing that like once you learn this, okay, other things will be really easy to learn. Other things will be really easy to learn. Okay, so this was the difference between MAD and MAD 2, overview of MAD and MAD 2 project. Okay, I will suggest that first complete the MAD 2 project, then first complete the MAD 2 theory, and then complete the MAD 2 project. Okay, it will be really fun to make these projects. Also, you will learn a lot. Okay, so yeah, that is all about this video. Okay, let me know what type of videos you want next and what type of content you want me to make to help you achieving your good tricks. Okay, so thank you so much.